In just 53 seconds, $2.7 billion in classified operations. Jasmine Crockett didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Cameras captured everything. The entire chamber held its breath. What did the Congresswoman from Texas reveal that made the FBI director's carefully constructed lies crumble like a house of cards? At exactly 10:47 a.m., Representative Jasmine Crockett walked into the House Judiciary Committee hearing room like a prosecutor who already knew the verdict. Her burgundy blazer, pressed to perfection, expression calm yet determined. She carried a single manila folder containing documents that would soon send shockwaves through every intelligence agency in Washington. Across the witness table sat FBI Director Kash Patel, adjusting his navy tie for the fourth time in 10 minutes. His usual confidence seemed strained, jaw clenched, eyes darting between committee members. 3 classified USB drives lay beside his water glass, backup plans he hoped he'd never need. Director Patel, Crockett began, her voice cutting through the chamber's tension like a blade through silk. Let's talk about Operation Black Book. The blood drained from Patel's face. That name, Operation Black Book, wasn't supposed to exist in any public record. His hands gripped the table edge until his knuckles turned white. Congresswoman, I'm not familiar with— Stop. One word. Delivered with surgical precision, Crockett opened her folder with deliberate slowness. Sir, lying to Congress is a federal crime. Would you prefer I read from the CIA memorandum dated March 15, 2019, or shall we discuss the $47 million in untraceable transfers? Silence. 4 seconds of absolute stillness. Even the C-SPAN cameras seemed to hold their breath. Behind Patel, his legal advisor frantically scribbled notes, sweat beading on his forehead. To his left, the committee chairman shifted uncomfortably, realizing this wasn't the routine oversight hearing he'd prepared for. The CIA memorandum, Patel said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Crockett's lips curved into the faintest smile, not of victory, but of someone about to reveal a truth that had been buried too long. This document, classified top secret until yesterday, details CIA surveillance of Jeffrey Epstein's operations from 2008 through 11 years. Director Patel, 11 years of watching, recording, and she paused, letting the word hang in the air, protecting. The committee room erupted in whispers. Republicans exchanged panicked glances. Democrats leaned forward, sensing blood in the water. The gallery of reporters began furiously typing on their phones. Congresswoman, Patel stammered, intelligence operations require $7 billion. Director, Crockett's voice cut through his deflection like a scythe. That's how much taxpayer money the CIA funneled through shell companies to maintain what they called strategic blackmail assets. Your signature appears on 17 authorization documents. The sound of Patel's pen falling to the table echoed like a gunshot. His mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. For 30 seconds, the FBI director, a man who'd faced down international terrorists and foreign intelligence agencies, looked like a deer caught in headlights. The operations were national security required. National security? Crockett's eyebrows rose, or protecting powerful men who visited Epstein's island. Because according to this flight log, she produced another document. CIA assets facilitated 847 trips to Little St. James between— Were we protecting America, Director, or were we protecting predators? The chamber fell silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. Somewhere in the gallery, a phone camera clicked. Patel looked around the room like a trapped animal. His carefully prepared talking points, democracy, transparency, accountability, seemed to dissolve before his eyes. The weight of 11 years of lies pressed down on his shoulders like a physical force. 30 seconds. Director Patel, Crockett said, softly. The American people deserve the truth. Did the CIA maintain files on Jeffrey Epstein's associates to protect national security or to protect powerful individuals from exposure? Tick, tick, tick. The seconds stretched like hours. Patel's breathing became visible, his chest rising and falling beneath his suit jacket. His legal advisor's pen stopped moving. Even the stenographer paused, as if sensing the weight of whatever words came next. In the gallery, a survivor advocate held her breath. Sarah Chen had waited 14 years for this moment. 14 years since she'd tried to report what happened on that island, only to be silenced by men in expensive suits who spoke of national security and classified matters. Now, finally, someone was asking the right questions. The C-SPAN camera zoomed in on Patel's face, capturing every micro-expression. Sweat beaded on his upper lip. His left eye twitched once. The American people would replay these 53 seconds thousands of times, analyzing every frame, every gesture that revealed the truth beneath years of carefully constructed lies. Behind him, 3 CIA liaisons shifted uncomfortably. They'd been promised this hearing would be routine oversight, nothing more than political theater. Now they faced the nightmare scenario they'd spent decades trying to prevent: full exposure of Operation Black Book's darkest secrets. Patel began, then stopped. Started again. The agency maintained operational files on individuals who posed potential compromise risks. His words hung in the air like smoke. Everyone in that room understood what he wasn't saying. Compromise risks, the intelligence community's euphemism for blackmail, for control, for turning democracy's most sacred institutions into tools of manipulation. Director Crockett's voice was granite. Yes or no? Did the CIA protect Jeffrey Epstein's network? Somewhere in the gallery, a phone vibrated with an encrypted message. Abort. Invoke executive privilege. Claim national security. But it was too late. The dam was breaking. 53 seconds had passed since her first question. 53 seconds that felt like an eternity. Patel's shoulders sagged. The fight went out of him like air from a punctured tire. Yes. The single word detonated like a bomb. The committee room exploded into chaos. Republicans shouted for order. Democrats demanded immediate investigations. Reporters rushed for the exits, already dictating headlines to their editors. Camera flashes strobed like lightning. Order! Order! The chairman's gavel pounded uselessly against the rising storm of voices. But Crockett wasn't finished. Amid the chaos, she leaned into her microphone one final time. And Director, how many of those protected individuals are still in positions of power today? Patel's answer was lost in the eruption, but his lips clearly formed the words, too many. The committee room transformed into bedlam. Ranking Member Congressman Williams leaped to his feet, shouting over the chaos, "This is a witch hunt. These allegations are unsubstantiated," but his voice was drowned by the thunderous response from the gallery. A veteran reporter from the Washington Post, who'd covered Watergate 40 years earlier, turned to his colleague with wide eyes. "I've never seen anything like this. This makes Nixon look like a parking ticket." Security guards poured into the chamber as tourists in the public gallery stood on their chairs, trying to film the historic moment on their phones. The sergeant-at-arms barked orders that went unheeded in the cacophony. Crockett remained seated, calm as the storm raged around her. She methodically closed her folder and placed it in her briefcase, her movements deliberate and controlled. This wasn't chaos to her. This was justice finally breaking through decades of institutional silence. Representative Johnson, a Republican from Texas, approached the witness table where Patel sat motionless, staring at his hands. "Director, On behalf of this committee, I want to state that these accusations don't. Patel's voice cut through the noise like a knife. Just don't. He stood slowly, his legs unsteady beneath him. It's over. Within minutes, Epstein Files was trending worldwide. CNN interrupted regular programming. Fox News anchors struggled to process the implications. International news outlets scrambled to understand how America's intelligence apparatus had become complicit in protecting a pedophile network. But the chaos in the committee room was just the beginning. As security officers flanked Patel, attempting to restore order, Crockett raised her hand. The gesture was small, almost casual, yet it commanded immediate attention. The shouting gradually died down. Even the most experienced Washington reporters sensed something more was coming. "Before we adjourn," she announced, her voice cutting through the diminishing chaos, "I have one final document." The silence that followed was deafening. Patel, halfway to the exit, froze mid-step. His legal advisor grabbed his arm, whispering frantically. But Patel shrugged him off. Some part of him, perhaps the last vestige of his conscience, needed to hear what came next. Crockett pulled out a photograph, black and white, slightly grainy, but unmistakably clear. She held it up so the cameras could capture every detail. This image was taken by CIA surveillance on Little St. James, August 14, 2017. "Do you recognize the individuals, Director?" Patel squinted at the photo from across the room. Even at this distance, even through years of trying to forget, he recognized them. 3 senators, 2 federal judges, a Supreme Court justice, and standing among them, shaking hands with Jeffrey Epstein himself, was a figure that made Patel's blood run cold. "I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights," Patel whispered. "I'm sorry, Director. Could you repeat that for the record?" "I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights," Patel shouted, his composure finally shattering completely. His face flushed red, veins visible on his forehead, hands shaking with rage and terror. The committee room erupted again, but this time the chaos felt different. More urgent, more dangerous. This wasn't just political theater anymore. This was the systematic exposure of a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of American government. Chairman Morrison slammed his gavel repeatedly, his face pale with the realization that his committee had just become the epicenter of the biggest political earthquake in decades. "This hearing is adjourned. Clear the chamber." But Crockett wasn't finished. As security moved to escort her out, she called over the noise, "Director Patel, the American people will get their answers, if not from you, then from the 84-7 pages of documents I've forwarded to the Justice Department this morning." Patel stumbled, nearly falling as the weight of those words hit him. 847 pages. Every operation, every payment, every cover-up, every name. Outside the Capitol building, protesters had already begun gathering. Word traveled fast in the age of social media. By noon, demonstrations erupted in 12 major cities. Signs reading "Justice for Victims" and "No More Cover-Ups" filled Lafayette Square. The White House press secretary canceled all briefings indefinitely. At 3:17 p.m., Patel's resignation letter arrived at FBI headquarters. 1 paragraph, no explanation, no apology. Just, "Effective immediately, I resign my position as Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation." At 4:22 p.m., the CIA director followed suit. At 5:45 p.m., the Attorney General announced the appointment of a special prosecutor to investigate Operation Black Book and related intelligence activities spanning multiple decades. By evening, 3 more congressional hearings were scheduled. The House Oversight Committee cleared its entire calendar. The Senate Judiciary Committee called emergency sessions. Even international allies began demanding explanations about American intelligence operations on their soil. In her office that night, Crockett sat alone, staring at the remaining files stacked on her desk, hundreds of pages she hadn't revealed, names that would shock the world, evidence that would topple governments. Her phone buzzed constantly. Reporters, colleagues, death threats, and messages of support from abuse survivors worldwide. But she ignored them all, focused on the most important call she needed to make. "Mom," she said, when the line connected. "Turn on the news. We did it. We actually did it." The investigation that followed would take 18 months. 47 indictments. 12 convictions, 3 suicides. A Supreme Court justice impeached, 2 senators expelled, and at the center of it all, the 53 seconds that changed everything. When Jasmine Crockett refused to let lies stand as truth. In 53 seconds, Jasmine Crockett had done what years of investigations couldn't accomplish. She'd forced the truth into the light, shattering the carefully constructed wall of secrecy that protected the most powerful predators in American society. The reverberations would continue for years, not months. Congressional investigations, special prosecutors, resignations at the highest levels of government, international treaties renegotiated, intelligence agencies restructured. But it all began with one question, asked by a congresswoman who refused to accept lies as acceptable answers. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in Washington isn't money or influence. It's simply a person brave enough to demand the truth, no matter the consequences. As the committee room descended into chaos and Patel was escorted away, one fact became clear: the age of protecting powerful predators through intelligence operations was over. It ended with 53 seconds of unflinching courage from a woman who understood that justice delayed is justice denied. The files were real. The conspiracy was exposed, and America would never be the same.